In this video, I'll be sharing with you this requested tutorial on how to cut a cut together monostrap mermaid skirt. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder to bust line, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, shoulder to hip line, which is 7 inches after your waistline to get your hip. If you're a much taller person, go ahead to use 8 inches. So after I'm done marking that, this is the full length of the dress. I'm using the whole pattern paper as the full length. So first, you need to go ahead and mark your shoulder point, and at the other end, I will go down by 1 inch. So this dress is actually a cut together at the sleeve, and also at my shoulder point I'll come down by 1 inch, connect those 1 inch, and then from my shoulder I'll create a shoulder slant from there to the upper part of this dress. So after this, I'll go ahead to mark a basic neckline of 3 inches by 2.5 or 2 inches because the neckline is high. So I'm just using this as a guide for or to draw out the neckline. So at that my shoulder point, I'll go ahead and find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now I'll draw a mark or draw out a straight line at that point. So I'll go ahead and I will mark what I have on the shoulder, which is my shoulder divided by 2, and I'll mark. After that point, I'll go ahead to draw and connect a straight line. So I'll be using this as a guide when I'm drawing out the sleeve of this dress. So the next step you want to take is to go ahead to insert your body measurements. I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, add my sewing allowance. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, mark my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, add my sewing allowance. Mark my hip circumference divided by 4, mark my sewing allowance. So after this, whatever measurement you have at your hip, take note of it plus your sewing allowance. That is your hip plus your sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead to place my tape at my waist point, and from that point I'll mark my knee line. I'll get my knee line, and from that point I'll go ahead and I will draw out a straight line at this part. After this, I will be coming up by 2 inches. This is to give my dress a fitted effect at the knee, because this dress is a mermaid dress at the lower part. So from this point now, I'll mark my knee point and mark 2 inches upwards after my knee. So next is whatever measurement you have at your hip plus the allowance, go ahead and take out 2 inches from there and mark. Now at this point, you're supposed to fold your pattern paper, your pattern with 16 inches, because the A-line effect is not much, or you can use 18 inches, but my pattern paper stops at 12, so I'll just go ahead and make use of that 12. So when you're folding your own pattern, go ahead to make use of 18 inches on fold or 16 inches on fold. Now I'll go ahead and connect this all the way from the upper part of my pattern to the under bust, waist, hip, and I'll also take it down to that knee point. So after this is what I have on this point, and I'll go ahead to cut out. So I'll go ahead and cut this out, and while cutting it, I will not cut out the under bust. From the under bust part, I'll just trace it out and open it up. I'll go ahead and take note of the center part of my neckline, and then I'll reconnect my neckline at the other side, which is 3 by 2 inches. So if you notice, I added an additional paper at the top of this pattern. This is because we'll be going up a bit. So from the neckline here, I came in by ½ inch, and from that ½ inch I came up by 1 inch. So after coming up by 1 inch there, from the actual neckline, I'll go out by 0.75 and I'll blend it in, then connect it to the new neckline. So now you want to create this slanted neckline up to the other side. So now where my 3 inches neckline, basic neckline stop, I'll add additional 6 inches. So from the middle of the neckline to that point, I have 9 inches. But if you place your tape back from where the basic 3 inches neckline stops to that point, you have 6 inches. On the other side of the neckline, I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the other side this way. So this is what I have. So due to the extension we have on this side, the neckline will slope at the other side. So also, if you're not okay with that measurement, go ahead to readjust. So from where the neckline stopped, I will mark about 3.5 inches, and I will slope or create a curve all the way down. So I'm using this 3.5 because this is where my pattern actually stopped. So if you're not okay with it, you can just adjust the length so that the off shoulder or the part of the shoulder that slides down to the side will have more extension. So now you notice this pattern at the sleeve side cut across the bust part of this dress. So after the bust, I'll be coming down by 1/2 or 1 inch, and I'll go ahead to reconnect it down close to the under bust this way. So sorry, that part of my pattern was not really showing very well. So this is what I have on this side, just like I said. So I marked 3.5 inches extension for my sleeve, and I connected it under. So if you're not okay with the extension, you can also use any measurement of your choice. So from this part, from my shoulder, where my shoulder stops, I'll add additional 1.5 or 2 inches, and I'll be extending this to my under bust area, or 1 inch after my bust line, just like we did on the other side, because you notice that the shoulder of this point went out a bit, but this part sloped more like a monostrap dress. So the more open your neckline, the more the sides of the dress will drop down. So after cutting and you're not okay with this, you can just go ahead to adjust the neckline for it to slope off the shoulder very well. So next, I'll go ahead to place this on another pattern. But before placing this on another pattern, I'll mark out 2 inches in front, and I'll place my pattern on it. The sides of the back, my pattern did not extend to that point, but I left it. But when you're marking yours, make sure that what you have matches. And in front of your pattern, you're going to add 2 inches or 1.5 for your zipper allowance. Trace out the shape, and also remember to add an extension up for the built-up collar at one side. So now I'll open this up. That is the back pattern, and I'll pin up that's my zipper allowance and push it to one side. So now you want to place your front pattern on the back pattern this way, because you want to go ahead and trace out exactly the neckline. So place the center of your pattern at the center of your zip. That is that point you pinned out your zip from. So now I'll go ahead to trace this out at the armhole or the sleeve area, trace out the neckline, and then trace out this part also, extending to the other side. Also remember that this is the shoulder part or the off shoulder part of the other side. So now I'll just go ahead and trim out this very well, and I'm going to now go ahead to take out the bulginess at the back of my dress. Go ahead to measure your shoulder to your waistline, and from there you go in by 1/2 inch, and from that 1/2 inch you extend it all the way to your hip and connect it. Then you're going to cut out from that hip point up to the waist, and then you're going to take it all the way up and then open your back pattern. This is to get rid of any bulginess at the back of the dress. So after I'm done cutting this out, I'll also go ahead to trace out the neckline and make sure that it is equal, so that by the time you attach the zipper at the back of the dress, the zipper area will be equal. So before going ahead to keep this aside, go ahead to place your pattern together. So I'll just go ahead and retrace the neckline just like I said. So this is what I have. Now I'll go back to the front pattern, because we are trying to create the slits at the lower part of this pattern. So now you're going to place your tape at the knee point and at least go up by 5 inches or any measurement of your choice. So now this pattern is not at the center. If it was at the center, divide what you have here into 2. If it's at the side, you divide what you have by 3. But this is actually one-sided at the other side of your pattern. So after your sewing allowance, you can come in by 3 inches or 4 inches, so that after joining your dress, it will be like, or it will be at the side. So from that point, I'll just go in and then draw out like a curve at the lower part, and from here I'll just extend it all the way to the other side of my pattern. So you can use measurements to do this, or you can just go ahead to create like a curve or while looking at what you have at the pattern, because I just feel this is more like a freehand at this side. No measurement was actually used, but if you feel there's a measurement, go ahead also to use that. So after cutting this out, I'll be placing this on the floor, and this is the final result of the dress.